Hello guys, welcome to another video session with me. So today we will be going to talk about differ block, and differ block has been introduced in Angular V17. It's an impressive and highly beneficial feature, the differ block. So it will be going to it will be going to give a huge benefit in your Angular application for lazy loading your component or the stuffs or UI blocks which doesn't require to need or load on the basis of initialization. So today we will be going to discuss some more deeper and detailed view of differ block, and let's continue with this. So here on the screen you guys can see, so I have an application card which I have created. So and on the other side we are actually being showing that card, right? So that means it's being loaded on our screens. So the main thing is now we will be going to discuss how that differ block can leverage, like how we can get use of the differ block. Let me also open the inspect window below so that we can see multiple options and how it can give the performance to our Angular applications. So if I will be going to load network tab here so that we can see how it consumes the differ. So the first thing, if we are going to use of differ, so that will be going to work on some strategies. So there are actually kind of some things or some conditions which Angular provided by default to load your component on the basis of differ. So the first case we will be going to discuss is like assume that I have some condition which will be going to true or false. It's kind of a boolean. So that condition will be going to decide either to load that component or not. So we will be going to discuss that in the first part. So now on the screen, if you guys can see, I have an application card. So this app card is kind of a shared component. So this is a shared component which I'm using on home page, right? So on the home page, I now want to get use of the differ block. So the first thing we need to go through is like how we can create that differ block. So the syntax is very pretty simple. So very huge shout out for the Angular team who had created these kind of amazing features. So differ block is kind of very amazing feature they have released in V17. So in differ, the syntax is like kind of we can initiate that differ with @ differ, and this is kind of some parameter exception. So it accepts parameters because this is a differ block and it works like a function, some sort of kind of a function declarations and definition. So in differ, there are actually kind of thing Angular had provided. So some strategies like the when, on. So those are like kind of strategies. Like assuming I want to load my component on some conditional basis, so I have to do with when keyword, right? So that when means like it will be going to render your component when that condition will be going to fulfill. So in my case, I need to create a show card, right? So let me create is show card, right? So this is show card should be kind of a variable which is a boolean. So for now we are creating it in a way of static so that like in future maybe you will be having some condition which will be depending on your backend response and all those stuff. So then you will be going to decide either to load that component or not. So by default, let me get this one in terms of false, right? So this is show card is a boolean variable which will be going to decide to load the component or not, right? So here in that differ block, I need to do that part. So currently on the screen, if you guys can see, if I'm loading Angular application, so for every time we have this card component to be loaded. So now we have to check like how it can leverage. So let's check that in after adding that component in the differ block. So here in differ block, you guys can see I have added app card component here. So it means it will be not going to load your app card component now, right? So the difference is because this show card component, this show card variable, is false. So that means it's not permitting the application to load that component. So this is some kind of same as ngIf. So ngIf was the structural directive, but it works very differently in terms of differ block. So differ block will be going to add or load the exact code base once your component will be going to fulfill on that conditional basis. So in our case, so that's a differ. So differ will be going to load your component when is show card variable will be going to true, like this condition will be going to be fulfilled. So that's different. This differ is very different from ngIf, which was the structural directive in Angular. So this is how the syntax of Angular newer versions. So if you guys can leverage those, so it will work in a very effective way. So now I'm going to create a button, so that will be going to trigger. So once that button will be clicked, then after the component will be going to load. So that's how this will be going to work. So let me create a button here. So that will be easier to load. Okay. So this is show card, right? So on show card. Right, so this on show card will be going to this component is show card, so that will be going to load here. So okay, so now if you click on load, so you can see the component will be going to work. So let me show you a deep dive in the network tab so that you guys can understand, because when this application will be going to load, if I'm refreshing this application, you can see we don't have any detection on the behalf of that app card component, right? So now when we are going to click on load button, so that will be going to initiate another call from the JavaScript, so that in that engine, so that's actually been taking a decision for manipulation because our condition is now fulfilled. So when I'm going to click on load, so you can see this is the shared app card component which is being triggered. So you can see here app shared card. Right? So this is app shared component card component.ts. So that means when your condition is being going to fulfill, so then after your component will be going to load. So this is the very first strategy for using that differ in terms of when keyword. Now we also been going to check it out multiple other variants, like how we can leverage that differ. But before going into that, those options, first of all, let's accomplish this differ. Like what are other things we have, or other features which they have provided in the differ block. So in differ, we have another thing which is called placeholder. So that placeholder is means like assuming that your component or your condition is now false, and you want to show something to the for the better experience. So in my condition, I'm going to write it like kind of placeholder of card, right? So if I'm going to save it, so you can see it says placeholder of card. That means because our component is not being attached to the DOM, so that's what for the initial purpose or the better user experience, like so that user can understand on this place we will have something, right? So on that basis, you have also the placeholder capability. So that's also a placeholder block with the differ. So you can leverage this one for using or showing the placeholder icon or like anything, etc. So when I'm again going to click on load, so that means my condition will be going to fulfill and my component will be attached to the DOM, right? So then my code base will be going to load and the component will be going to initialize or showing on our browser window. So when I clicked on load, you can see now placeholder went away. So the reason behind it, like because differ works, our condition is fulfilled, so the component is being attached, and we are actually being able to see that on browser. But on that behalf, that placeholder will be going to removed away. So for those kind of stuff in previous versions of Angular, we were doing those stuff hard-codedly by ourselves, manually by creating placeholder, adding ngIf and those conditions. So it's a very amazing thing if you are leveraging this differ block in your Angular application. So all vanilla and boilerplate things are already being created by Angular team. So you just have to plug and play, and like that's a very good thing. Also, we have another we have another block which is called error. So that error is kind of when you are facing some errors, either in terms of either in terms of loading that card or whatever. So that's actually also the error block. Error block where you are consuming your while consuming your differ, right? So now if you can see here, placeholder of card, I can click on load, so that means card works. So because at the moment we don't have any errors, or assuming that we are not hitting any API calls, so that's what we can't get use of this error. But we will be taking a look in the next ahead step. So we will be taking a look. So now this is what we have discussed. So that's actually the very first strategy for getting your visible content on basis of some condition. So we have taken care of when keyword, and we have actually been rendered a component on the basis of that when condition. So now we will be going to move ahead with other strategies what we have. Right. I also shown you here in the network tab. So when the component is being attached and it's being loaded. So there's also another keyword I need to show, I need to discuss it here. So there's kind of loading status. So that's also a new block which is called loading, right? So that means when you are clicking or when you are making your components to be loaded, so on the basis of that loading phase, you can also provide some loading things or placeholder. When we were doing that in earlier Angular applications by manually showing that spinner loader or kind of stuff, so you can achieve those things here in terms of loading block. So now if I can go a little below, and like currently placeholder is here. If you are clicking on load, so you can recognize that you will be going to recognize on screen in a very faster way. It comes for very milliseconds. So that loading keyword with these three dots, you can recognize on the screen. It will come for some time. So when you click on load, you can see there was a loading. So it's very super fast. So you can't recognize that one. So these were actually the things and the blocks which are being introduced when we are using differ. So now we have let's discuss some other keywords for using that differ as well. So with differ, we also have on keyword, right? So with on, so you can see my condition was actually my earlier differ block was dependent on is show card, and is show card was a boolean variable. But now when we are trying to consume on, so that's not actually accepting anything to be like kind of a conditional way. So now that means it requires immediate, right? So you can see it works. So now we will be going to discuss like what is immediate, right? So that immediate means when you were like you can see here, the first is something else. The first one is this first differ block. If you are going to stop this one, so you can see these things, right? So but now here, this is the differ block which is working on immediate. So if you can see when we are loading the screen, so it's immediately been loading, right? So if you can recognize that home page is not going some away, but you are getting some flicker, some kind of flickering behavior for this card works. So when we are going to refresh it, so you can see it flickers sometimes. So that's the reason behind when. So what's actually the use of that on keyword? So the differ block with the on immediate condition guarantees that component will be going to instantly rendered once it goes under loading, under the lazy loading. So that's how it's mean use of on immediate when you want to show your component on the basis of immediate level. On immediate level means when your component is being instantly rendered once your module or component is being lazy loaded. So on those strategies, you are going to make use of that on keyword. So it's also very super fast and will be going to like kind of help you in a very optimized way. So like it's very different rather than you are using that component card on the very default way, like copying, pasting, or using card in your HTML template file. But this differ is something different, so that's actually dependent on immediately of your attaching DOM renderings part. So that's a different chunk, so it will also help you out. So there's also an other there's also an other keyword or kind of thing which we are going to discuss is like differ strategy will work on trigger events as well. So till now we have taken a look on conditional part, which will be going to work on when keyword, and also we have taken a look for on differ algorithm, which is dependent on. So that's on means some kind of immediate or some kind of trigger you are going to do. So let's take a look on how that will work. I'm hiding this one as well for better understanding so that it will be not disturbing us. Okay, so now immediate will be going to removed, and now the differ is also working on interactions part as well. So here in this differ, you will be going to do interaction, right? And interaction, you have to pass some trigger, right? So in my case, I'm doing this kind of trigger, right? And I'm using of this button as well, so that will be going to like this. Let me uncomment it so that we can understand. Okay. So now here, let me remove that click event, this click trigger, so that we have a better look of this one. And let's name is as a trigger. Okay, so now I'm saying this as a trigger, right? So now you can recognize, you can also see, so this differ is for the trigger, right? So you can see when I save this template file, so on browser it says trigger button and it says homepage works. Nothing, that card component is not loaded at the moment. So now it will work on interaction part when a user click on button. So on that trigger, our differ algorithm will going to decide to show that card or not. So this is how we can make use of those cool things. And let me do that part. So for now, we are also adding some kind of placeholder as well. Placeholder of trigger differ. For a better understanding, I'm doing those keywords, okay? So now what we are going to do is like when we are going to trigger this one, so you can see card works. And this is being attached here in the network calls, and that's for, you can see 304 not modified. So this is the card component. When I clicked on it, so throw out only this exact chunk, which is a card component, is being attached to your screen. So that's how it works, and it's also very beneficial use of multiple things. Like either you want to consume or show your component on the basis of triggers, either you want to show or visible your want to show your components on the basis of differ by means of triggers or by means of interactions or by means of immediate level. So these are actually kind of very best things here in Angular v17. So we will be also taking a look on this one. So let me revise this part again. So on differ at the moment, so we have on interaction. So this is the on keyword. Same, we have taken a look on the earlier above part, which was the immediate part. So immediate is by default, that's not a condition or something else, but Angular will be going to, like Angular engine will be going to recognize that you want to load your component on an immediate level. So for the other part is kind of interaction. So interaction belongs to something like if you want to trigger some events, or if some button is clicked, or some kind of any change activity which is being going to happen. So on the result of that part, you will be going to show or render your components. So for those strategies, for those scope, you will be going to take advantage of on interactions. So this was related to the interaction part. Let's go further, and we have some other cool things with differ as well. This was actually kind of a very great use of differ, and it will be going to show you like kind of very amazing things. And like if you are doing some healthy initializations, or like kind of some kind of very beneficial things, like kind of you are having with a very huge application where you want some kind of performance in terms of component loading, in terms of rendering. So differ block will be going to help in those areas. So that's a very great thing we have. So the the next step we will be going to learn about differ is like kind of the it's same as interaction, but it's something else. So interaction will be going to record your triggers, but here it will not be going to record your triggers, but it will be going to make use of hover. So hover is very related to the CSS, and we are actually been achieving something, changing colors or doing etc. things on the basis of mouse hover, right? So this is same as that one. So if I'm changing, you can see here with the differ block I have used here. So this is again on keyword we are using here, and we have used the hover method. So in hover we have to pass some kind of trigger that will be going to record. So if I'm saving this one, so you guys can see placeholder of trigger differ or hover. Let me change the name here. So this is the placeholder for hover differ, and if I'm going to, like you guys can see, this is the placeholder for hover differ. So let me clear out this network tab. So now if I'm going to hovering this trigger button, so on the basis of that hover, my component will be going to attached, right? And it will be appeared on the screen. So you guys can see, I hovered on trigger and my component is being loaded. And let me again clear this out. If I click on trigger, so you guys can see CardWorks is going to appear, and only this file, which is a shared card component, so that's been rendered on my DOM. So this is how differ works. So this was actually the main use of trigger by means of hovering thing. So if you are hovering that one, and it will be going to load your component. So we also have other strategy which is called on timer based rendering. So we also have other strategy called viewport based rendering. So that's related to the styling part when you are looking on the mobile screen. So some components are being showed and some components are being hidden. So earlier in Angular older versions, we were achieving those things with kind of styling purposes by adding CSS media queries. So, but the reason behind the difference behind if we are now using differ on viewport, and if we are comparing that one with our older versions of Angular, so the difference was in CSS part, so that component is not being going to showed, but that's been attached to our DOM. So that's relatively very correlated with our performance of Angular application. So that's what differ plays a very high-end role in those kind of concepts. So let's discuss with timer-based rendering with differ. So I'm again doing one kind of thing. So I'm copying this differ from here so that we can learn how timer-based rendering works. Okay, so here we are again making use of on keyword, and we have a timer, right? So in timer we are saying like, okay, 1000, that means 1 second. So I'm saying here like 2000, and it will be going for 2 seconds. So now when I'm going to hit and save this file, so after 2 seconds my component will be going to load. So let me also add placeholder here for better experience so that you guys can understand in a better way. Placeholder for timer differ. Okay. So now you can recognize it. I'm doing this again so that we can recognize how it works. I have refreshed after 2 seconds. Now it will be going to load on your screen. So that's how it's been worked. So this is called timer driven rendering with the differ block. So when here we are providing some kind of time, so like after this time component will be going to load and render on your screen. So here we have passed 2 seconds time in terms of milliseconds. So after 2 seconds our component will be going to load and rendered on the screen. So these are the better performance things which Angular v17 had provided us in the Angular v17 version. So these are the very beneficial things if we are going to make use of performant Angular application. So we can use this differ block. So I have created this video for detailed end-to-end so that we can understand how differ will work and what are some different strategies we can make use of and make our Angular applications more performant. So here in this case, so Angular v17 had provided this differ block with some amazing features, some amazing things, so which I have tried to cover it out here, but I will also discuss a few more things I had in the other videos, and I will try to customize those stuffs as well. And I will be going to I will be going to do a detailed write for this differ usage and multiple different strategies as well, so that you guys can understand how we can make use of these differs, and we can make our Angular application more performant. So hope you guys will like this video. So we will be going to meeting again ahead with another Angular session. Thank you so much.